It's hard to believe we're barreling towards the end of 2024 where legitimate Game of the Year conversations can begin, and well, leave it up to the citadel of honest journalism, IGN, to put out a poll, try to troll the community to figure out what's everybody feeling out there. You know, what's your Game of the Year out there? Is it the DLC for a game back in 2022? Don't really know if that fits the description of Game of the Year, but Expansion of the Year? Yeah, that would be a shoe-in to win. HellDivers 2? Well, you know, if we were holding this poll back in February and March, could have been a different story. Astrobot, you know, hey man, people are having a lot of fun with Astrobot. I don't know if anybody's continuing to have fun with it, but it was good from what I've seen. But then, of course, you know, they got that one right up there at the front, and that's actually fair to be on your Game of the Year list. But here's the thing. When you follow this link through, when you take a look at the top 25 rated games, you're going to notice something. Well, first and foremost, something that slaps me directly in the face is, why is your graphic change between your tweet and on your website? Oh, it's because one of the biggest games that has been getting consistent, great approval that you guys were running hit pieces on, you guys have been preying on the failure of, that just has yet to manifest. Oh, it's because it's actually been dominating some of your results. But look at this top 25 list, and frankly, 2024 has been kind of a decent year. So yeah, number one, obviously, Rebirth. I don't disagree with the supposed community on this. We'll have to check with that's an accurate assessment or not. And then you've got Shadow of the Erdtree. Okay, you can have your conversation whether or not that's a full-fledged game. There's obviously enough content there for it to be a full game, but it's still an expansion, requires the base game in order to play. So there's a conversation. Third place, potentially Black Myth Wukong, Astrobot, HellDivers 2, Stellar Blade. Oh, Stellar Blade, and especially with the announcement that there's going to be some new DLC and a tie-in with Nier Automata towards the end of the year, well, that'll give it a little bit more of a boost. It's been kind of lagging. There's been consistent updates to the game, so yeah, good for that. And Space Marine 2, what else we've been hearing about this is it's one of the best-selling games at a bunch of the old developers over there that, comprise Saber Interactive, because there's a lot of veterans from the likes of, Doom back when that was, I shouldn't actually say that, but, Doom and Wolfenstein, which that's what I was going to say for that one, back when that was a franchise worthy of putting on your resume. But guys over at Saber that were working on those projects are saying, and this is anecdotal, of course, so take it with a grain of salt, that Space Marine 2 is selling better than any of those big budget AAA releases. So the fact that this game has only been out for a short period of time and it's already in 7th place for Game of the Year, well, that speaks to that. And Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, I heard nothing but great things about it. I've never played a Yakuza game, but there's a couple that are coming out. There's a proper crazy Yakuza pirate game coming out. That looks kind of fun, especially in the face of other pirate games kind of sucking recently. So yeah, if Sega's going to be doing something fun, I'd be down with that. Hades 2, heard good things about that. Dragon's Dogma 2, oh yeah, microtransactions out the wazoo. And then of course Palworld, which I would imagine has probably been getting a little bit of a resurgence due to the stupid Nintendo lawsuit and people just, wanting to back the underdog on that one. And outside of that, a bunch of games that I don't really have that much of an issue with. Like, the only thing left to come out this year that I think could potentially, I think 2020 or 24 and 25. Nothing against Final Fantasy 14, but that's an ancient game at this point in time, and Dawn Trail is one of the most derided expansions that game has ever seen. Senua's Saga 2, Hellblade, it's like, I don't know, did you guys just have like 25 games on this list that you could go ahead and compete one-on-one against? And that just happened to be the short straw to be drawn. But the only other game that's coming out this year that could threaten to shake up this list is probably A Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, but it really looks like we're finally going to see a Final Fantasy game win Game of the Year for the first time in how many decades? Like, do we have to go back to the 90s? There's been some funny things going on when it comes to this ordering. Okay, because as you can see right here, pulling up the community results from this IGN poll, it's interesting. Black Myth Wukong News is pointing out how Black Myth Wukong is the winner right now with 83% won of the 94,000 duels it has taken a part of. That's interesting. That's very interesting. And then you do a little bit deeper of a dive, and then you realize that Grums has been tracking this stuff, and it's like, oh, IGN really doesn't want to see Black Myth Wukong win this stuff. They might be cooking the books, because here you have a bunch of different results. Obviously, a bunch of results that are taking place about the first one. There's a gap of a little bit better than a half an hour, and then 5 minutes later, and then a little bit better than half an hour later, and you can see the percentages start to drop in a very interesting way, where you have 181,569 nice duels. You have Wukong on top with 90.4% win rate. Rebirth in second place with 71.5% win rate based on just about 242,000 duels. And then you go, half an hour into the future, and Wukong drops full 5%. Well, that's kind of interesting, and there's an additional 10,000 duels. Meanwhile, Rebirth has only participated in an additional 1,000 duels, and they've only dropped 1/10%. Interesting. And then there's an update, that 5-minute later update, and Wukong has gone through another 2,800 duels and dropped another full percentage point. And then a half an hour later, drops 10 percentage points on 30,000 duels. And Rebirth is it's just not dueling at all, and it's staying relatively consistent. It's 71.4, 71.4, 71.3. Very interesting. Why are they doing this? Why do they not want to see the monkey game succeed? But they like diversity. IGN appears to manipulate user votes of a game of the year to erase Black Myth Wukong's substantial lead. Look at the timestamps and the vote counts. Yeah, we went through that in excruciating details. Wukong drops from 90 to 74% in a span of an hour. They did this at 5 a.m. when most are asleep. Oh no. Not the F curve again. No, but look how much, Final Fantasy in the number 2 spot. It doesn't gain much at all. Same with HellDivers. Interesting. Couldn't see HellDivers that well. But I don't really think that Black Myth Wukong is all that pressed. I kind of think the game science will go ahead and succeed in spite of IGN's clear cooking of the books. But Wukong tops 20 million sales on Steam, earning $1 billion, $961 million. Yes, kind of crazy. Black Myth Wukong has sold more than 20 million copies on a leading digital distribution platform Steam just a month after the hit action role-playing game was released, getting over 6.8 billion Chinese yen in revenue. Black Myth Wukong's concurrent online player count peaked at 574,000 Steam players over the past 24 hours when this article was written, according to the data by the Video Game Insight released yesterday. The game has been positively reviewed by 95% of just over 500,000 users since its released on August 20th. China's Game Science, the developer of Black Myth Wukong, has not yet released official sales figures, but likely far more than 20 million copies have been sold, given the game is also available on Tencent's Wii Game, Sony's PlayStation, and the Epic Games Store. But I would imagine that Steam probably makes up a substantial sales pool for them, but I don't think, PlayStation would be lagging that far behind. So they've made over $1 billion on a $1 million $7 million budget. I'm sorry, I had to go double check that again. $70 million budget. That is still a fraction of other AAA games in the space that have yet to turn a profit, like everything over at Ubisoft. I'm sure Veilguard is probably just going to be, oh my god, I'm sure that's just going to be a money printer. I forgot to mention that one. That's still coming out towards the end of the year. And Assassin's Creed Shadows, who knows, man? We might have to revisit once IGN fixes the glitch over there. It wasn't a pipe burst in the middle of the night or anything like that. Don't worry about all of those ballots that were just in those unmarked black boxes at a little red wagon that was pulling suitcases of votes. It is nothing. Don't believe your lying eyes, okay? There could be some interesting late additions to that conversation, but shout out to Black Myth Wukong for absolutely killing it this year. It's definitely the player's choice that's out there. But you know which game I'm a little bit partial to. I might check out Wukong by the end of the year, but I'm still holding out, and we're gonna have to wait. I think tomorrow there's supposed to be a Square Enix conference, but we'll talk about them a little bit later because there's been some good development over there. Perhaps they looked over and seen what Game Science did when the grifters over there at Sweet Baby Inc. tried to knock on their door and claim another victim. They finally decided to sack up and tell the grifters to fuck right off. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.